My name's Martin, and I've always lived by the motto, if it works, don't fix it. That's how things started with Mandy. Practical, straightforward, no drama. We had a plan before we even got engaged. She dreamed of being a stay-at-home mom. Not out of necessity, but because she genuinely wanted to be there for the kids, the home, the day-to-day rhythm of life. I was in software consulting. Steady income, long hours, sometimes travel. It made sense. I'd take care of the work grind, and she'd manage the home. It was simple, and for a while it worked. I'd come home late, and dinner would be waiting. Laundry folded. Sometimes she'd leave little notes on the fridge. She used to smile a lot back then. But people don't change all at once. It's slow, like how a shoreline erodes over time. The shift in us began after Jonah, our second child, was born. It started small. She'd tease me when I struggled with the baby carrier or got the kids' bath towels mixed up. She'd laugh and say, "How can you be so smart at work and so hopeless at home?" I'd laugh along, too. It didn't feel mean at first. But the jokes didn't stop. At dinner with her sister Claire, she'd retell stories about me putting Jonah's diaper on backward or needing a manual for parenting. Everyone laughed. I smiled, but something in me tensed. It wasn't anger, more like a quiet shift. I was being turned into a character. Mandy's comic relief, the well-meaning but clueless husband, all while I was pulling 50-hour weeks to keep everything running. Back then, I wouldn't have called it disrespect. But those little jokes started to weigh on me. The real turning point came at our daughter's 5th birthday party. We had the full suburban spread, balloons, streamers, a rented bounce house. I spent the morning setting up chairs and hauling tables, while Mandy decorated cupcakes and coordinated with her mom. By noon, the backyard was buzzing. Kids running around, parents chatting, plates loaded with sugar. It looked like a postcard-perfect day. I was carrying a tray of juice boxes across the yard when I heard her voice from near the patio table. She was laughing with 3 other moms, all friends from school. Then she said, "Martin tries, he really does, but he loaded the dishwasher last week like it was a crime scene." Laughter. One of the moms chimed in, "Oh no, not another Martin moment." More laughter. Mandy kept going, "I swear he asked me if shampoo goes before or after conditioner, and that was last week." I stood there, holding the tray, stuck in place. It wasn't the laughter that stung. It was the tone. She was comfortable telling these stories like they were routine, like I'd become this ongoing inside joke. The punchline everyone was in on, except me. Later, after most guests had gone and we were stacking chairs, I brought it up. I said, "Maybe don't do the whole Martin's clueless thing in front of a crowd." She looked at me, surprised. "What are you talking about?" I told her, "I just don't want to be the butt of every joke when there's an audience." She smirked. "Oh, come on, it's not that deep." That was the problem. Everyone laughed, and to her, that made it okay. I didn't sleep much that night. Not from anger. It was more like this creeping awareness that something was shifting. Respect, maybe, and once it's gone, it's hard to claw back. A few days later, I took Jonah to his pediatric checkup. Mandy had a yoga class and asked me to cover it. No big deal. I packed everything, snacks, immunization records, even extra diapers. I felt prepared. But while checking in at the clinic, the nurse looked at me with this amused smile. "You're Martin, right?" she asked, flipping through the file. I nodded. She chuckled. "Your wife says you're brave for flying solo today." I gave a weak smile. "It's not that hard." She grinned. "Oh, I know. She's just funny, always cracking jokes about your dad skills." I didn't say anything, just nodded. But that line, cracking jokes about your dad skills, echoed all the way home. In the car, with Jonah sleeping in the back, I just sat there, staring at the dashboard. She wasn't just making those jokes at home. She'd started sharing them out in the world, and people believed them. 2 days after that, her brother Scott came by to help me install shelves in the garage. We were measuring studs when he tossed me a level and said, "You sure you know how to use that?" Mandy says tools aren't really your thing. I didn't answer, just looked at him. He laughed nervously. "Just teasing, man." Sure. That night, I brought it up again at dinner. I asked, Mandy, you ever notice how people are starting to echo your jokes about me? She didn't look up, just kept cutting Jonah's chicken nuggets. I said, Claire, Scott, the nurse at the clinic, you're building this version of me and passing around like a party favor. She rolled her eyes. Okay, now you're being dramatic. I'm telling you what's happening. I said, you can ignore it or you can hear it, but it's happening. She didn't respond. That silence said enough. She wasn't really listening. About a week later, she hosted a girls' night at the house. Wine, snacks, a movie. I didn't mind. I usually kept the garage or upstairs, gave them their space. It was our routine. Only now, that quiet corner of the house didn't feel like peace. It felt like retreat, like I'd been pushed out of something I didn't even realize I was losing until it was already halfway gone. I was sitting on the couch in the upstairs den, wrapping up some emails when I heard my name again. It was Mandy's voice, followed by one of the women laughing. How does Martin survive without you? She asked, with another burst of laughter following her words. Mandy responded, barely. If I died tomorrow, he'd probably feed the kids peanut butter for every meal. Another round of laughter. Then she added, last week I caught him using body wash on Ava's hair. He thinks it all smells the same. The laughter grew louder, and I just sat there listening. Not a word of defense from her. No mention of how hard I try, or how much I'm learning. Just endless jokes at my expense. I didn't interrupt. I didn't make a scene. I just stayed silent, waiting for them to leave. When they finally did, I found myself in the kitchen, wiping down counters that weren't even dirty. Mandy walked in. You okay? She asked, though the way she said it with that narrowed look made me feel like it was more of an accusation than concern. What's that supposed to mean? I asked. She sighed. It was just jokes. You're taking it too seriously. I take respect seriously, I said, my voice steady. You're overreacting, she replied, leaning against the fridge. No, I said, shaking my head. I've just been underreacting for too long. She opened her mouth but closed it, then walked out without saying another word. That night, I packed a bag, not dramatically, just a duffel with clothes and my charger. I didn't slam doors, didn't leave a note. I just walked out and drove, checking into a hotel just a few exits away. I slept like a man who hadn't slept in weeks. The next morning, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Mandy. Are you seriously pouting? Grow up. I stared at the screen. It wasn't concern. It was dismissal, as if I had just taken a break from folding laundry, not walked out of the house. I typed back, I need some space. Don't text me again tonight. Then turned my phone off and tossed it onto the nightstand. I stayed at the hotel for 3 nights. The first was filled with silence. The second, I got 2 texts from Mandy, both versions of you're being ridiculous. On the third night, nothing. I thought maybe she was done trying. Then, the next morning, my phone rang, an unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but decided to pick it up. Martin, said a voice. Gina, Mandy's best friend. I know this is weird, but I think you should hear this. Mandy's a mess. She's not going to say it, but I've never seen her like this. Did she ask you to call me? I asked, still sitting up in bed. No, she has no idea I'm calling you, but she's walking around like she's fine. Meanwhile, she hasn't eaten in a day and keeps snapping at everyone. I told her she went too far. Gina's voice softened. She really didn't mean it to go where it did. I think she finally gets it. She's been telling those stories for years like they were harmless, and now she's realizing they weren't. I exhaled. She thought I'd never leave. I said. There was a pause. Look, Gina said, I'm not taking sides. But if you care, and I know you do, maybe don't wait too long to talk. She's not great at apologies, but I promise you, this one's real. When we hung up, I just sat there for a while, staring at the carpet. Gina didn't know me. That call, she could have stayed out of it, but she didn't. That afternoon, I got a text from Mandy. It was short, different from the others. No jokes, no sarcasm. Just a simple, I'm sorry. I didn't see it until now. I didn't reply right away. But that night, I left the hotel and drove home. Not because she asked me to, but because I needed to see her face to face. When I walked to the front door, Mandy was standing in the kitchen like she had been frozen there for hours. She didn't say anything at first, just looked at me. No glare, no smirk, no roll of the eyes. Just quiet. "I wasn't sure you'd come back," she said softly. "I wasn't sure either," I replied, setting my bag by the wall and sitting at the table. She moved toward me slowly, cautiously, as though unsure how I might react. Then she said, "I'm sorry." Her voice didn't shake, but it didn't sound confident either. "I thought it was funny," she continued, her words slow, "telling those stories, making people laugh. I thought if I made fun of the little things, people would see us as normal, relatable. But I never asked you if you thought it was funny." I leaned back in my chair. "I don't need praise every day," I said. "I just don't want to be the joke at every table." She nodded, looking down. "You're right." I unexpected that. Not the apology, but the way she said it, like she had already argued it out with herself and lost. She looked at me again. "I kept thinking you'd never say anything," she added. "That you didn't care. You always looked fine," smiled. So I just kept going. "Yeah, well," I said, my voice low. I got tired pretending it was fine. There was a moment of silence before she asked, "Can we start over?" She wasn't trying to erase the past. Just try and do things differently. Not pretend like nothing happened. But just reset. Do this better. I didn't answer right away. I needed to know she meant it. Then she pulled out her phone and opened the Notes app. She showed me a list. It was titled "No More Public Shots of Martin." Underneath, there were things like no jokes about parenting, no mocking me in front of friends or family. "I've been adding to it every time I think of something I shouldn't have said," she said. I was taken aback. "Okay," I said. "Let's see what starting over looks like." She reached across the table and placed her hand on mine. There were no grand speeches, no big gestures, just that. We didn't say much the rest of the night, but the silence felt different this time. It felt good. Change didn't come all at once. It came in small ways. A few days later, we had friends over for dinner. Normally, I'd brace myself, waiting for the punchline, the joke about how awful I was with the kids or the house. But that night, Mandy didn't go there. She asked me about work. She let me finish a sentence without interrupting. When someone joked about husbands never helping with bedtime, she just smiled and said, "Martin's actually been a rock with the kids lately. I've been lucky." That was it. No wink. No backhanded jab. Just a simple statement. After they left, I was cleaning up when Mandy walked over and handed me a glass of water. "I could tell you were waiting for it," she said. "I saw it on your face." I didn't deny it. "I'm trying," she added, "not just to fix what I did, but to see you better." It wasn't a grand moment, but it mattered. In the weeks that followed, I noticed more changes. No more eye rolls when I offered to help. No more redoing tasks I'd already done. If I dressed Jonah wrong, she fixed it without saying a word. If I cooked breakfast, she ate it without offering critique. And one morning, I found a note on my car windshield before heading to work. It said, "Thank you for showing up even when I didn't see it." The thing is, I never wanted perfection. I didn't need some fairy tale ending. I just needed respect, recognition. We're not perfect now. We still bicker. We still make mistakes. But the difference is when I speak, she listens. And when she laughs, it's with me, not at me. People say relationships are built on love, but that's only part of it. The rest is built on the things you don't laugh off, the things you fight for when no one's applauding. Looking back, I'm glad I left that night. Not to hurt her, but to make sure I wasn't continuing to hurt myself. And when I came back, it wasn't to go back to the way things were. It was to build something.